When you ask the question of who is the most single powerful Jedi or Sith in all of the Star Wars mythos, I think most cannot deny that the maelstrom of luminous energy, the Force Storm itself, Luke Skywalker, sits above the rest. But what makes this man so special? Why is the child of the Chosen One the man who has mastered the Force and become unparalleled compared to all Jedi? What about Luke just makes him special enough to become the Grandmaster of the New Jedi Order and the Jedi Coalition? Well, in this video, I'll be going over just that. I'm going to be going over every single facet and part of Luke Skywalker's character in order to help people get a grasp of his strength and understand exactly what has made him so special compared to every other Jedi or Sith. With that said, if you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and now, let's get into it. From the beginning of the Jedi Order, the Jedi have always had a purpose behind their cause, one which was to stand for justice and hope behind not only the concept of the Force, but for the people across the galaxies. But of course, there cannot be Jedi without the Sith, and the Sith would throw a massive wrench in the intentions of the Jedi, as these were enemies who must be put down for the greater good. But taking the lives of others is considered to be a dark and bad action, one that requires you to step into the dark itself in order to enact. Not only this, but the Sith would cause the Jedi so much turmoil through their actions, forcing them to create a very strict Jedi Order that would be so focused on preventing Jedi from becoming like the Sith that it would unintentionally strip away the humanity that originally defined the Jedi's cause, being so focused on their own politics and everything else besides listening to the Force itself. The darkness of the Sith would slowly overcast the light of the Jedi, with the full moon finally being cast with the downfall of Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One. Sidious would soon rise into power after this event and eventually eviscerate the Jedi to almost extinction, but of course, the Force would always correct this. A man representing kindness, love, and compassion. Everything that the Jedi left behind and abandoned would be brought into this world with the intention of restoring the balance. This man being Luke Skywalker. Unlike his father, Luke, interestingly enough, was given a very carefree beginning that would instill the concepts of love and kindness into him and his character growing up, as whoever was left of the Jedi Order would be unable to teach him such things and provide him the necessary care and nurture required to change everything. The Force deemed this to be necessary, as it was going to be what set him apart from everyone. This also doesn't mean that he was devoid of that innate drive that his father had, as he always had a desire to explore the universe and go on adventures. Eventually, Luke would receive training from two of the most powerful Jedi Masters and basically the most powerful Jedi left at the time, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. Yoda specifically would teach Luke that it's important that he must always remain present as a Jedi, telling him that he must always focus on the present rather than the future. And not only this, he would teach him how to understand and utilize the Force, make the impossible possible. What also made Luke very potent was how he was able to truly learn in all ways, rather than his father who usually picked up his training through real combat and real combat alone. Luke was truly able to learn in every single way possible while understanding all of the people around him. See, something that has always made Luke very strong was how he approached his issues. For example, when we take that infamous moment of finding out who his father was, Luke did not resent anyone who knew, and in fact chose to head back to Obi-Wan to seek answers in order to find ways to improve himself as a combatant and a Jedi. Every time Luke failed, he grit his teeth and moved forward, seeking to only solve his problems and overcome anything in his way. He was a gifted combatant, yes, but his mind was even more gifted. Even when it came to confronting Vader once more, he wouldn't do so with the intention of fighting him in some grand battle, but instead reaching out to the man within. Not Darth Vader, but Anakin Skywalker's father, putting his compassion on full display once more. This was the option and path he chose to follow, in a position where not any other Jedi would, and this is what has always set him apart. Luke, after the events of Return of the Jedi, would take the Legends mythos by storm, facing deities such as Abeloth and reforming the entire Jedi Council in a way that has made them more powerful than ever, ending his story on the precipice of godhood, but refusing to accept it as that was never his goal in the first place. Not to make Luke sound like the Force Jesus or anything like that, because even he has a good amount of screw-ups throughout his history, but he's pretty much the closest thing to it. With that said, enough background on the Jedi Grandmaster. Let's get into his stats like we do for all of these sorts of videos. To begin with the strength and attack potency of Luke, as he is a Jedi, most of his feats and stats are going to rely on his ability to utilize the Force in order to enhance pretty much everything he can do. Luke Skywalker throughout the extended universe of Star Wars has pushed the limits of the Force, and has been the only Jedi in all of its history to master and balance both the light and dark side of the Force. Luke has taken the skill to achieve feats such as using the ability of the Force Wind to such potency that he was able to wipe out an entire army with a wave of his hand. This ability causing so much damage to the world itself that he would swear to never use it again. Luke has also been able to somewhat contain or move an artificial black hole. Many people interpret this feat differently, but Luke never moved a literal black hole. Despite this, it's still impressive to move an artificial black hole no matter how you spin it. Luke has also been able to do battle with an avatar of Abeloth, one of the most powerful deities in all of the Star Wars mythos, the one who is referred to as both the mother and the bringer of all chaos. Abeloth is literally so powerful that she has to operate with physical avatars, similar to Darkseid of the DC universe, as her true form exists in the astral realm of the Force, with these avatars surpassing both the daughter and the son, the physical incarnations of both the light and dark side of the Force. With the Force being something that exists throughout all of the cosmos, you can obviously chalk up all of these characters to universal levels bare minimum, and even get them to multiversal levels of strength without much effort. These are the kind of characters that Grandmaster Luke has to tussle with, and in order to actually combat Abeloth's true form, he would have the Mind Walk and reach the realm of Beyond Shadows. This being a realm where Abeloth's true form can only reside, and where nothing but the Force exists. Physical composition is no more than an illusion, and the distinct between thought and reality does not exist. If you heard correctly, Luke can do just about anything when he taps into his ability to Mind Walk, and definitely reaching those outer versal types of levels, although I'm sure he himself wouldn't really do it or rely on it unless he had to. Of course, these are the absolute limits of his strength, with every possible benefit that you can provide him. But he's also casually done things like match Darth Vader in strength, the same Darth Vader who was rivaled by none in the canon timeline and was destroying skyscrapers with a simple clench of his hands, and has even intimidated Sidious with his full potential, forcing Sidious to believe that one day he will be surpassed by Luke if left unchecked. This is the same Sidious who stomps out Vader and can casually send out force storms the size of continents in order to swallow entire war battalions. Luke Skywalker, when it came to attack potency, was a monster and could have even gone farther had he chose to. When it comes to his durability and endurance, of course, Luke is a normal human baseline, but with amplification through the Force, this is massively enhanced. We've seen Luke be able to survive Sidious's lightning for an extended amount of time. And if we really want to focus on this feat, we would see that Vader and Luke received just about the same amount of the Force lightning, with Luke surviving the onslaught and Vader passing away. Now, if we move past the movies and into the extended universe, the previously mentioned Abeloth would hit Luke with her own Force lightning, but he would be able to withstand it. To be fair, it was just a blast, but it also comes from Abeloth, one of, if not the most powerful entity in the Star Wars EU, so it's still insanely impressive. Luke has also manipulated the Force in ways that allows him to do cartoonish things, such as just completely absorb blaster bolts with his hand and make them go into non-existence. He can also create a barrier so potent with the Force that he literally becomes immovable and invulnerable. Luke even has the Tooth of Menace on top of all these feats, which is a Force ability which would allow him to absorb all harmful energy and convert it into nothing. This ability being so potent that it was even able to deflect Force lightning from Sidious himself. Luke's aptitude with the Force allows him to literally become an untouchable object, someone who cannot be hurt by majority of characters in the Star Wars EU, but before any combatants worry about hurting him, they actually need to hit him first. This would prove to be a very difficult challenge for majority of the characters in the Star Wars mythos, as Luke Skywalker is an extremely fast character. Of course, he's pretty fast in the movies, deflecting blasters and all of that, but the comics just boost his speed to a completely different level. One of his most popular feats is one of speed after all, the one from the unifying force that would display Luke attacking so fast that his blade was perceived to be 10 or even 20 different blades all at once, or even another feat from that same moment in which he's said to be moving so fast that Jacen Solo couldn't even track his movements. Of course, this is the same Jacen Solo who was already reacting to hypersonic speeds in the Star Wars mythos. Despite everything I've said about Grandmaster Luke, he's been handed a ton of L's throughout the EU, believe it or not. It's not until the very end where he becomes this all-powerful god of the Force. I say this to say, like with all of his other stats, you're going to find his peak in his battle against Abeloth, and that's going to be the trend for this video. Abeloth being Abeloth, considered even nanoseconds to be quote-unquote too slow. Luke Skywalker was able to keep up with the same Abeloth, and it was even stated that he was moving at nanosecond levels of speed. If we want to reach with Grandmaster Luke, we can always bring up the mind walking thing, which just makes him move at immeasurable speeds, since you know, that's just a mode where he can make his thoughts into reality. But realistically speaking, we'll be throwing him in the faster than light category. On top of all of this, Luke has been through many wars and even more battles, so he's managed to become extremely intelligent and wise due to experience. Luke has also managed to master almost every single lightsaber combat style while also being good with his hands. Luke also boasts insanely high aptitude, being able to pick up the ability to use the Force in order to teleport entire objects with only 2 days of training. Luke is also constantly nudged by the Force itself to make certain decisions that would benefit him, as he's extremely favored by it. Luke, also being the Grandmaster of the Jedi, and the man who basically rewrote their entire doctrine in the Legends timeline, has to be someone who's very intelligent. Now to get into the powers and abilities of Grandmaster Luke, him essentially being the ultimate Jedi who has managed to perfectly balance both the light and dark sides of the Force, has bestowed him with a laundry list of abilities, and he basically has access to majority of techniques in the series. This includes Force Alter, this allowing Luke to cloak himself into an entirely different form by leveraging his telepathy on anything he uses. He can use this to trick even recording and surveillance equipment, and he gets so good with this ability that he even begins to use it subconsciously. Emerald Lightning, which is his take on the trademark Sith Lightning, which is even more powerful than the Sith Lightning itself and can be used to knock out opponents rather than always execute them, which is very fitting for Luke. Battle Meditation. This allows Luke to boost his allies' stats and morale, while stealing his opponent's will to fight. Flow Walking, which allows Luke to see into the past. Although this ability can be used to see into the future, we've never seen Luke himself do it. Fold Space, this Force technique allowing Luke to basically teleport anything to anywhere he deems fit. Force Barrier, this giving Luke a barrier that can be placed around an enemy to restrict their movements or himself in order to protect them from any attacks. Force Blast, in which Luke will shoot golden flames at his opponents, dealing significant damage to anybody he makes contact with. Force Healing, which would give Luke a healing factor that can allow him to come back from things such as being cooked alive or having his organs punctured. Force Illusion, with such potency, it's almost as if he's genuinely manifesting a true clone of himself into the world. Shatterpoint Perception, this allowing Luke to communicate with fate itself in order to find out how he can deal with his enemies, instantly gauging their strength and weaknesses and how his actions will guide him to victory against his opponents or how his actions can put him in danger and more. It's like an extremely analytical foresight. Tutaminis, this was previously mentioned, but this is another ability that allows Luke to take any attacks set his way and completely render it non-existent. Telepathy at levels to which he can just take the life of anybody he pleases. We've even seen Luke use telepathy to somewhat contain a pseudo-black hole, and even pilot and drive the entire Millennium Falcon all on his own. Luke's feats have come so far as to a point where he's almost Toon Force-like. Grandmaster Luke has power far beyond most Jedi and Sith, reaching levels of power to a point where most would prefer to avoid battle with him by the end of his story. But what has provided Luke with such power? He isn't the chosen one like Anakin, nor is he a conceptual deity such as Abeloth. So why? It's because of his compassion, his willingness to move with the one thing every other Jedi forbade themselves from utilizing in their lives: love. This emotion, more powerful than any other, being the core of Luke's power, is what has provided him with the opportunity to reach levels of strength never told, and is what has allowed him to balance both the light and dark, as love drives all with unmatched intensity. Grandmaster Luke is without a doubt in the top 10 of the strongest beings to ever exist in the Star Wars mythos, only really surpassed by gods of the Force and those who have given themselves to the Force, although Luke himself was provided with the opportunity to do just that, but he would turn it down. With that said, I hope this video gave you a good estimate on the overwhelming strength of Grandmaster Luke and helped you understand why he's such a powerful and renowned character. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by leaving a like below, and thank you guys so much for watching per usual. Peace out.